There was a debate last night.
Yes, sir.
And one major observation, there are many, I made notes. One major observation would be J.D. Vance would be a hell of a lot better president than Tim Walz.
Yes.
Well, that's almost a way that undecided people could look at the election. Who do you want to be president in case the president keels over? I'll take J.D. Vance.
Same.
No one can put 10 pounds of manure into a 5-pound bag faster than Walz. And then I also noticed, and you have some audio. They're both lying because they're politicians, but it was hard for me, and I'm being serious now. It was hard for me to tell when Vance was lying.
Okay.
It was not hard for me to tell when Walz was lying because his eyes bug out.
Right.
Isn't that what you want out of a politician?
But you got hit. The tell is watch his eyes. Hey, Bertha, look at his eyes. He's gonna drop one on you. And then he'd lie because he'd look like a frog guy sprite from Austin Healey. Those eyes are just. He looked like Justin Morneau when he saw a fat pitch he wanted to hit. Those eyes would come out, and he would just stare at the camera and go, "I misspoke." No, you didn't misspeak. You're a liar. Yeah. You're a liar. You're all liars, but at least I can tell when you're lying because your eyes bug out like an insect. Now, let's go to the Hong Kong lying part.
Sure.
Because there's another observation I have. I think Walz became a little more knowable to the American public last night.
Yeah.
And I hope they understand what a foul person he is.
Let's go to the Hong Kong audio. I have the entire clip.
Because even these two smug babes who were the hosts of the debate, I thought they were smirking, preening, self-occupied two babes. They said they wouldn't fact-check. Well, they fact-checked Vance every chance they got. Right. They didn't fact-check this bumbling buffoon from Nebraska, but they did. Surprisingly enough, they did nail him on the fact that he wouldn't answer the Hong Kong question.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17. Worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at.
Yeah, we do.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice.
Much to our regret.
My commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID. And I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just. Lied. That's what I've said.
And then his eyes
So I
really
was
bugged
in
out.
Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
I would also say this.
Thank you, Governor.
For a guy who continually brags about being a teacher, he's a complete moron because he brags about the fact that none of the kids he taught could get into an elite college, and he misspeaks all the time, and he's a stumble bum by his own admission, and he's a hick by his own admission. All of this is to corroborate the fact that he thinks he's a brilliant teacher. He must have been a run-of-the-mill teacher. Now...
And by knucklehead, I believe he meant nyuk, nyuk, nyuk.
Yeah. The other thing, he seems to have he seems to favor, whenever he faces a tough question, he wants to point out that essentially he's really not equipped to answer tough questions because he's from a town of 400 people.
He's just
and he's
unfrozen caveman lawyer.
Yeah, he just, I can't handle this stuff. I come from a town of 400 people. My people know me. Well, we do know you, and my God, it's just, it's dreadful. I really love, too, this was an act of stuffing 10 pounds of manure into a 5-pound bag. For some reason, he was able to link a housing question to the fact that his mother still owns a house where they retreated to after midnight mass. Now, he's not Catholic, he's Lutheran, but every denomination could have a midnight mass if they want, or a midnight celebration. But that's what he thought of, because he used every opportunity to sneak in this BS he's been told to tell us. That he's small town, that he was a soldier, that he was a teacher, that he was a congressman, he was a governor. Every opportunity, snuck that BS in. And
that was what the show prep was, you think, before the debate?
But he really hides behind that small town milieu that, oh, I'm just a regular guy. I'm from a small town. Not many regular guys who don't make any money being a teacher go to China 35 times.
I thought it was 15.
We're not going to do the China thing. I know that. We're staying with his financial irresponsibility, none of which came up last night to my great disappointment.
Can I play?
Nobody bothered. Vance didn't bother to say, tell us about that surplus. Tell us about that food fraud.
Can I bring up a clip that I saw in real time and I thought, well, that's an odd thing to say. And I'm going to guess he misspoke. So you guys are going to have to help me with this one. You ready?
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice.
End it. A lot is being made of that. He didn't mean to say he's friends of school shooters. He's become friends of the parents of victims of school shooters. But that's his fault as being a poor public speaker and trying to pack 10 pounds of crap into a 5-pound bag. He speaks so fast that he makes these gaffes. And that was I'm going to attribute that to a gaffe.
Again, we have enough, like we say every day, we have enough real things to be pissed off about.
Let's not focus on this.
That's nothing. That's a mistake. Yeah. That's a result of his being a really, really poor public speaker.
Wait a minute. So are you saying it's Reavers doing a live ad? He's talking
basically,
too fast?
he's talking too fast. Yeah.
What's really weird is all that stuff that we're angry about, like Joe said, it never brought up.
Never came up.
None of it.
Nail this guy on his finance. You want this guy as president?
No.
In the event that he would become president, the guy has no sense of budgetary or fiduciary responsibility. Zero.
What drives me crazy about these debates, both sides, is you ask them a direct question and you do not get the answer. You get 3 minutes of complete BS that have nothing to do with the question.
And Vance can't be left off the hook, except the macro view I have of it. If I had to choose between those two for a president, there's not a doubt in my mind it's Vance.
Right.
Not a doubt. There's no Trump has no redeeming Trump. Well, him too. Walz has no redeeming value. None.
Vance occasionally looks at the camera like, You hearing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah. Oh, it was something.
Walz.
I also thought they behaved civilly to each other, and that was a
nice.
That was a respite from the normal behavior.
They did not cut off microphones, correct?
Not really. No,
Only
that's-
when
Just once.
Just the one time?
Walz was so nervous that he made me nervous.
Yeah.
And he appeared like as soon as that thing got over, he had to throw away his underpants. I mean, there was just no saving him.
It was Kenny at the fair.
Because he was just so, just drenched with sweat.
No, he was
so
Brooks flop
nervous.
sweat.
No, it was better than that. Who's the guy who died? The SNL guy who was the self-help
Hartman?
guru?
Phil Hartman.
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
He was Chris Farley, shaking with nerves and sweating.
You remember that time?
Remember that time?
Here in China or Hong Kong.
It was
Would you like to hear from Mr. Vance? I did save a clip from him as well.
sure.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
I do think that a Walz-Harris presidency would be so financially out of control that we'd really be suffering. I think they're just
We'd all be moving into your house.
Well, they're just spenders. They're
But
just
Joe, 3 out of the 4 candidates, they like to reiterate that they came from middle class, poor families.
Yep.
It's just that one guy who was just spoiled, rotten, rich as a kid and doesn't mind telling people. Look, I have no idea what you people are going through. I know it's bad.
you peasants.
even Vance. The opening question was about Israel, and the first thing he said, he had to give his background. I'm middle class, and this.
Yeah, just answer the question. He out of the 4, he bothers me the least.
That's a good
Like,
way
I
of
guess,
putting it. That's
yeah.
a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Out of the 4, he bothers me the least.
That is a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a sad way to put it, but
Yeah, it's just, it's so wrong. So wrong.